A pleasant good day to you. This is Owen McCafferty again, offering ideas and thoughts specifically tailored towards the veterinary, dental, and dermatology segments of professions. And we are now talking about an area that I think is a question that I just had this morning. And the question was, how often should I look at getting some sort of calculation of value, worth, market study of where my practice is going, growing, and what I could expect to receive in terms of proceeds, either from intrinsic worth, investment value, or even strategic value. So I'd like to maybe answer that question. The answer, quite frankly, is at least every 3 years, and no more than waiting every 5 years. So 3 to 5 sounds like a sentence, but in fact, that's an appropriate time for you to see the trending that's occurring. Now, you've heard an awful lot about analytics and the necessity towards using predictive tools and algorithms and artificial intelligence, machine learning in some of our prior videos. But I'd like to talk just about good common sense. It's important for you to see trending. Getting a calculated value of what you have as the most important asset in your life, which is normally your practice, that includes, of course, your real estate, is a very useful tool, not only from the standpoint of knowing for estate purposes or for leverage purposes where your practice is in terms of what you can expect to receive, but more importantly, what can you do to change segments in your practice to add value to the practice entity that you own. And we use the timeline of 3 to 5 years because you can make changes, and those changes that you can make will have an impact. But the impact isn't overnight for the most part. Sure, maybe in controlling some cost or expense, if you change things, you stop theft, the value of the practice will jump overnight. And some people say, well, gee whiz, I want to see what my practice is worth on an annual basis. And I'm going to use that as a diagnostic because all of the percentage relationships and the trending that's occurred over the last 5, 7, 10 years can be mapped out. And in the course of one discussion, one conversation, we can come up with a very viable plan for practice improvement. No doubt about it. But many of the things that you would decide to do, adding another suite of exams rooms, or adding additional personnel, or buying equipment with better diagnostic or treatment competencies, that takes a little time to work through the system. And for that reason, you really want to look at what the asset worth of the operating entity that you call a practice is, apart from the real estate. Although the real estate will be affected by the operation of the practice. But just as an operating entity, with the changes that you make on a perpetual basis, because we're always making changes, any good, thoughtful practice does, and you will come up with your own plan that needs to be measured. And in our opinion, the finest form of measurement is seeing the impact in terms of current earnings, expected, as well as earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. And finally, based on the capitalization feature in the marketplace at the time, and that does change, the capitalization factor, the multiplier and the multiplicand relationship between earnings and capitalization feature are one of the various forms of determination, not necessarily a value, but what you may be able to receive in proceeds from one specific purchaser. So intrinsic worth, the worth that would exist in one doctor buying another doctor's practice, The investment value when you have an aggregator, accumulator, or assimilator just chomping at the bit to buy your practice, or strategic value when there are limited numbers of purchasers that need your practice for a specific purpose, and you yourself are in a situation where you can or cannot sell. You really want to make it worth your while that you were to receive a good payment, and this good payment could be astronomical. And that's really what strategic worth is. It's not the worth that exists for the seller, it's the worth that a new buyer could enjoy adding to other assets that they own, either in a geographic area or within a specific catchment. So those are all features. By the way, when you are looking at the value of your practice and where things are going and what the range of options for sale could be, you definitely want to dust off that buy-sell agreement that sits at the bottom right-hand corner of your desk and look at the situation and the players that exist in your practice to see if there should be some changes, not only to the purchase agreement, lease agreement, shareholders agreement, limited members agreement, whatever documents you're looking at, but also look at some of the contractual arrangements that you've made and the promises that, of course, you have to keep when you do finally are in the transaction for sale. Take a look at the personnel assemblage that exists in your practice every 3 years. See if what you're building in terms of a team is going to be delivered to third parties. There's always a question as to a variety of issues as it relates to looking at acquiring your practice for improvement, selling your practice to gain profit, or continuing your practice as part of your plan and your commitment as a professional with a body of knowledge and a code of ethics. So with that, this is Owen McCafferty. I just want to say thank you. I don't mean to bore you with a lot of issues, but just to throw out in an oral checklist format some of the considerations that you would have. See you again.